Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Happy to join us today with Simon and Sterling, who will be with me for the following podcast to come. Today, we are going to be talking through the Isthmian Premier Division, step 7 of the non-league pyramid, which will be one of our 7 leagues, which we will be running through on this podcast. But step 3 of the non-league pyramid, 4 teams go down, 2 go up. But when you've been to games in this league, what do you think of the atmosphere overall?
It's been pretty good, to be fair. The crowds are quite good, usually over 1,000 people. And for lots of the games that we went to last season, the crowd are trying to generate a little bit of atmosphere in each game, so it's been quite high.
Yeah.
We've been to Lewis and Whitehawk. We saw Whitehawk in the Isthmian, I imagine. It was quite a few years ago, but those are probably the only 2 that we've been to, aren't they, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I've been to a lot of Lewis games in my time. I'm sort of like, we're all Brighton fans here, but we like to go to non-league games in this league, especially when Brighton are playing away from home or just aren't playing on a bank holiday Monday. And we think it's a really good league, especially the atmosphere. I mean, especially me and you, Simon, went to a really good game about 2-3 years ago, which was Lewis Worthing, which had a record crowd at the Dripping Pound, which was about 3,500 people, and it just showed like how good of an atmosphere non-league football can create, especially in this league. So, yeah, today talking through each team briefly, and at the end we will show you our predictions for the league table at the end of the season. And of course, we will come back to this at the end of the year to see which clubs we have gone horrifically wrong, and some
how badly
we've got, and some we might have actually got right. But we'll be doing this in alphabetical order. So we'll start off with Aveley, who are a club who have just recently been relegated from the National League South, unfortunately, where they only won 8 games and conceded 81 goals, which is quite a concerning amount. But now they've got a new manager in Brett Maynard, who is replacing Danny Scopes, who left after around 3.5 years at the club. And they have made a lot of signings. I think it's definitely double figures, as well as making a lot of departures as well, including a massive one in their top goal scorer last season, David Cower, with 11 goals. I mean, it's a lot of signings here, but I think it's probably needed after you can see that many goals in a league season. So how do you think the squad can gel together quick enough in pre-season to get some good results out of the season?
We've had some pretty decent results in pre-season already. They beat Dagenham and Redbridge, and Tilbury, for example. So it looks like they are gelling. I just think it's too many people, and losing the top goal scorer as well. It's just once the hard yards start of the season, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they'd go down. I think they're obviously committed to the squad, so they probably will manage to stay up, but they're certainly not going to be anywhere near the top of the table, I don't think.
Yeah.
New manager as well doesn't help. Like, you've got all the players that are gelling together and got a new manager implementing his philosophy and his ideologies. You've got to take that into account as well. It's pretty much whole squad and staff that's completely new coming into this league. So I think it'll be a struggle for them. But with the quality of a league above, retaining at least a few players from that league, you'd think that they'd be near the top.
Yeah, near the top of the league.
Anyway.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think I've put them around the playoff spots. I mean, I recognise 1 or 2. I think Harry Critchley, one of their new signings, played for #United, which is me watching their YouTube videos a few times. But that's the only real name I'm familiar with. But yeah, decent signings, a lot of them as well. But a complete rejig for the relegation side, which we see from a lot of clubs in this league, where one season and they have one squad, and then another season you turn up to the first game of the season and they just have a completely different team. So I have got them in. Let me have a look. I've got them in 7th place, so I've got them just outside the playoff places myself. I don't think they'll have enough time to gel quick enough, in my opinion. So 7th place for me.
I've put them in 5th.
Yeah, 5th place.
Because I think coming down from National League South, got that experience in a better league. As I said before, retain some of those players. I know they've lost their top goal scorer, but if they can get that group to gel and they've brought in loads of players, if a few of them are any cop, then with that know-how of the league above and looks like quite a big squad, I reckon they'll be up there and weighing up the other teams in the division as well. I still think they'll do all right.
I've got them 12th, mid-table.
You've gone 12th, so different to us. Do you think they'll be safe, but do you think they'll go for a playoff spot in the end? No. So mid-table for Simon, for Aveley. So me, Sterling, have gone for around the playoff place, but Simon in the mid-table position. But we will now move on to Billericay Town, who, let's say, have had a heartbreaking way to end up in the league lot for this season, after literally losing the league in I think it was like the 96th minute on the last day to Horsham, who won the league in the end. They lost the league by 1 goal difference, which is just absolutely heartbreaking, and then proceeded to lose the playoffs in the end as well. But some positivity from the season. They won the Velocity Cup, which is a competition which Isthmian teams participate in, where they beat Chatham Town 3-2 in the league. They've also massively kept their top goal scorer from last season, Femi Akawinde, who's a very well-known striker in the league, but previously known to be sort of a Step 6 club in the National League South, but recently have been struggling to get back into that league in the Isthmian Premier Division at the moment. But some decent pre-season results, especially against Bournemouth, which is a team who've recently just been promoted to the National League. 3-1 win there in pre-season, as well as a 2-2 draw to Aldershot. Oh no, not a 2-2 draw, a 3-1 loss to Aldershot, which is National League experience in the end of the day, so it will definitely help them for the coming season. But they've also made some very good signings in Liam Nash, who we would have watched at Worthing when we went to watch Dorking versus Worthing last season,
and Eastbourne Borough.
And Eastbourne Borough, yeah, definitely, in that crazy title race in the National League South, which we will be doing an episode on very soon.
But where does he play, Liam Nash?
Liam Nash is I think he's a forward. I think he came on against Dorking nearly. I think it was either cam or striker in the system.
I think I remember him coming on, actually.
Yeah, no. But yeah, he moved on from Worthing after not getting a lot of game time. But they also got him Ryan Blackman from Chelmsford City, who I know from playing Football Manager quite a lot of the time. I know you two both play it as well. But they have lost Montel McKenzie, who was from Folkestone Invicta, who's quite a good player on the Love Island Villa as well, which is what he's most known for, and have lost Jack Paxman, who has gone to Welling in the end. He was at Eastbourne Borough when their new owner came in, so when Mark Beard was in charge, so not a great time at the club for Eastbourne, nearly getting relegated that season. But this season's going to be really a really big season for Billericay because of how they stayed in the division for this season. So how do you think they'll react? Because that's probably a really big hit for the club, having to stay in the division in that way.
I think they've got to be one of the favourites to go up. Personally, they've got a good stadium. They get a good crowd, so the finance is obviously there. Keeping Femi Akinwande is a coup for them, really, because he's been doing comparatively well in that Baller League, which is obviously a much bigger draw than maybe the Isthmian Premier League is. So keeping him is a good signing. I think Liam Nash and Worthing's a good signing. It looks like they've just kept the churn down to a minimum. So I wouldn't be surprised them finishing top two. I've got them second at the moment.
I think they're going to be, again, one of the favourites to be champions or get promoted at the bare minimum. I've actually got them as champions in my predictions. I think it'll just make a more hungry group of players. They kept the core by the looks of it, obviously with the striker. Top goal scorer staying, Liam Nash coming in, same manager. Good crowds, as you said, good stadium. So I just think it's going to make them more hungry and they'll just go for the title again.
I've got them in second place and not winning the playoffs, so I think they're going to have heartbreak again after last season. So sorry, Billericay fans, but have you gotten to be promoted, Simon, in the playoffs?
I've got them second. I don't know if they'll go up, but they'll definitely get into the playoffs.
Definitely get into the playoffs. I think they'll stay down again. Unfortunately, sorry to any Billericay fans watching. I hope you can prove me wrong, which I will say to a lot of teams in the division when we get to teams that we've put down. So hopefully they can prove us wrong, because we're not that knowledgeable in the league. We could put someone like Brentwood Town, who are about to move on. I think I've got them to go down, but they might just all of a sudden go win the league. So that's the beauty of non-league football, though. So we'll have to wait and see. But Brentwood Town is the team we're going to be moving on to now, who have just been promoted to the division, where they play their football in Essex in front of a small crowd of 1,500 people at the Brentwood Centre Arena. Manager Keith Rowland won the Manager of the Year in that division after their promotion success, and this season is going to be their highest ever league they've played in after winning the league title last year on 89 points. So big achievement for the club, which will probably add a lot of pressure onto them now. They're in the highest league they've ever been in, but not any signings that really spark out to me. Obviously not that familiar on all of the players, but we have Manny Odoringe, who we've just mentioned, who has departed from Aveley. So National League South experience coming into the club at least for next season. But
Couple
as I
lads
said,
from Aveley.
Yeah, from Aveley.
And one from Billericay, so bit of experience there.
Definitely a bit of experience from in the league, exactly that. So, as they're obviously in the highest league they've ever been in, do you think, there's going to be some sustained pressure on the players, knowing that there's probably going to be a pressure on them that they want to stay in this league, knowing that it's the highest league the club's ever played in?
Yeah, I'm sure they want to do well, but I mean, when you get promoted, you need to refresh your squad, especially if you're moving up to a higher level of football. And they can see they've signed players from Aveley and Billericay, which is fine, but that's just two or three players, and I don't think that's enough. I think they're going to struggle. I've got them sort of second from bottom at the moment. They've got a tiny ground. I know their grounds in this league are big, but if we were talking earlier about the fact that Lewis got 3,000 at one of their great games, it's only the capacity of this Brentwood Centre Arena is only 1,500, so we're not going to have massive crowds, unfortunately, and that just is going to have an impact on finances going forward. So they've reached the top, I think, and that's going to be a struggle to maintain. So I've got them second from bottom.
Yeah, Sterling?
we know how hard it is to get out of these, but this league in particular, and just in general, the non-league leagues, National League South, National League, they're very hard leagues to get out of and to actually survive. We see a lot of teams kind of juggling, going up, maybe going back down, or going down the league. So I think it's clear that the step up is quite significant. I think they're going to struggle. I've got them rock bottom, to be honest, so apologies to any fans of Brentwood, but rock bottom.
I'm the exact same. Rock bottom for me. I think they've retained a lot of players, which is good because you want players from last season that are familiar with the system, especially now they've kept the manager as well, which is a very good thing as well. So, but I just don't think they've reinforced enough. I mean, there's been some times where you see teams not reinforcing enough, and then it sort of punishes them when they come to the last stages of the season, and then they're just on the decline really and end up in the relegation zone. But I hope they prove us wrong because all three of us got them down. So Brentwood fans, we are sorry, but hopefully you prove us wrong. Now we will move on to a local side to ours, Burgess Hill Town, who play at Leylands Park in East Sussex, 2,500 capacity. I've been there personally a few times. Very good atmosphere, I should say so myself. They're actually kind of known in the non-league world for a decent atmosphere with their sort of instruments they bring to grounds. Their interest in support, which is of course brilliant to see. It's nothing, not putting anything against them. It's always brilliant to see such good atmosphere in the non-league, and it's the reason why we turn up to them games. But they are installing a new 3G pitch into the ground that season, which we are seeing a lot of non-league teams doing recently, just because of the amount of games which are getting postponed in some leagues like this because of the quality of each pitches. But they are installing a new pitch, but their managers, Gary Mansell and Jay Lovett. I actually know Gary Mansell. He coaches me at my college, which is I'm quite proud of that, even though my college team, our college team is not the best, but he turns up, and obviously learning a lot of experience off of him after getting promoted last season from the Isthmian South East Division on a penalty shootout. I was watching it on their live stream. He told me their penalty taker to win it absolutely blazed it out of the ground, which is just typical non-league football. But they did eventually win the game on penalties against Sittingbourne after they had a similar situation to Billericay last year. They were just absolutely so close to winning the league title, but Ramsgate, who have been promoted to this league as well, just absolutely stormed it last season. So credit to them. But new signings, I actually know all three of these signings. Funnily enough, Rico Reese from Sittingbourne, who they obviously beat in the playoff final, but he was previously at Worthing. I think he went viral one time for making an absolutely mental save at Eastbourne Borough in the FA Cup once. If you want to go look for that, I think you'll be able to find it. They've also brought in Josh Spinks, who was at Lewis last year for a period of time when he was playing under Craig Nelson, who is now at Tunbridge Angels, and Jaden Perez, who I actually also know from Eastbourne Borough. I've watched him a few times. He was there when I first started watching non-league football in about 2021, but he joins from Salisbury, which is some National League South experience. But big news as well is they've lost a proper club legend, a proper fan favourite in Dan Perry. He's gone to Three Bridges, so he goes a step down. But I'm quite surprised at this, to be honest, because he was a real big player for them last season, top goal scorer for 3 seasons on the trot, I think, to keep them in the league when I watched them stay in the division a few seasons ago. But they've lost some key players here. Slav Huck as well to Welling, and Stefan Vukaj, who actually equalised in the playoff final to bring it to penalties. He's gone to Cheshunt. But We're seeing a lot of teams bring in 3G pitches now as well. Burgess Hill, one team to add to the tally. What do you think of like 3G pitches coming into non-league?
I think it's a nightmare. I remember one of the games we went to was Eastbourne Borough against Worthing last season, and Mark White said afterwards it's like playing on a car park. It was the quality of football was poor, and you compare the quality of football that you see on those 3G pitches to the quality of football you see at Lewis. There's a difference, and the difference is not the players, because the players at Worthing and Eastbourne Borough are better than the players at Lewis. But they can't play naturally on that sort of surface. And I think that's a problem with 3G pitches. They're fine when they first get installed, but you can't just install one and then leave it. You've got to maintain it and
they're hard to maintain.
And keep it fresh. And I don't think necessarily clubs do that. And my big concern with Burgess Hill Town is the fact that they've got joint managers, because I've never known that to work. I mean, Jay Lovett is a Brighton coach. He used to coach Simon Jr. He's a good guy, but you can't have two people making decisions, I don't think. And I think I've got them. I don't think they go down, but I don't think they'll set the league on fire. I think they'll come sort of 19th, somewhere around there. I think it'd be, like you said, George, I think it'd be a good game to go to, good atmosphere. We're going to try and get out there a couple of times. They're definitely going to struggle. It strikes me a club like this is all built around the social side of things, because it's such a good atmosphere there. And if you've got Dan Perry leaving, who was a club legend, I think that's going to affect things. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them struggle but not go down.
Yeah, Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on the 3G. There's pros and cons, like George. We know that I don't think in your playing days they had 3Gs, to be honest. But we know from playing on 3Gs, like, it does your knees in. Like, it is like rock hard.
Yeah.
And you've got the sliding and stuff on it to add to it. It's not nice, but that's not as much of a problem. It's more what it does to your knees is just no giving it. It's just, as you say, rock hard. But we want to see games going ahead, as you said. Like, it's good for that reason. It's going to mean more games go ahead. But yeah, definitely pros and cons. I think they're going to struggle. In terms of the joint managers, I mean, it is hard making joint decisions, but I think if you've got the right cohesive unit, it can work.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the main problem for me. I just think coming up last season, first season in this league, not ever, they've been in it before, haven't they?
Yeah, been in it before a few years ago,
Yeah. But I just think they're going to struggle. It's a competitive league. I've actually got them 21st, so...
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I've put them in 18th place, similar to you, Simon, just above the relegation zone. Probably some bias, seeing as the head coach is someone I know quite well after last year. So I
He'd
can't
put you on the bench, mate.
Yeah.
He'd put you on the bench.
Yeah, if I put him down, I'll be on the bench next season for my college team. So I should have put him up, probably. But hopefully you don't see this. Gary, please don't watch. But no, I actually really rate Burgess Hill for the atmosphere they bring to non-league. I mean, they were one of the first teams I went to watch after Lewis. I have a mate, which I do running with, who's a big Burgess Hill fan living in the area, and he tells me about the atmosphere all the time and how good it was when they got promoted last season in the playoffs, especially in the playoff semi-final, which they won obviously against Margate at home. The atmosphere was mental, 2,000 odd people, I think he said. So it's just the beauty of non-league, really, having that many people come to your games at that sort of level just shows the beauty of non-league football. But yeah, I've got them in 18th place, and onto the 3G pitches. You hear a lot of, especially, I'm going to move on to Mark White again, like you've talked about, Simon. He's got a 3G pitch at Dorking, and he says the amount of players that get injured on that sort of surface is just mental. And then he also says the ball kind of holds up on his AstroTurf. So when he goes on to just like grass pitches, he says it in his Bunch of Amateurs series, which they have. They attack a lot better on grass pitches compared to on AstroTurf, which is really interesting because it sort of shows how the ball's going to be moving differently and it can affect the way that a team can play. So definitely something that non-league teams are always thinking about, and it's been installed by Burgess Hill Town as well. So yeah, two staying up, one going down. Moving on to Canvey Island, who have been formed since 1926 from Essex. Pre-season wise, they've had big wins, an 8-1 win against Old Southamptonians, which is a massive result. But apart from that, they've lost every other game, which is not great. But they have brought in a very experienced manager in Pete Taylor. He's a 72-year-old, and he's been at 25 managerial roles. So he's coming out to the end of his managerial career. He's been at Leicester, Brighton, which I don't know if you remember the name, Simon. It's probably not for me and Sterling, but
No.
Pete Taylor. He's also been at Palace, Hull, and he was famously known for giving David Beckham the captain's armband for the first time back in 2000 as England caretaker manager, which is just mental. Now he's at Canvey Island, which shows the beauty of non-league football. That's credit to him, especially because being that dedicated to one job is mental, doing it for that long. He comes into the job after they stayed in the division last year. Decent season. They won the Essex Senior Cup, beating Hornchurch on penalties, which was quite a big occasion for them. We're at the Colchester Stadium, so quite a big ground for non-league football, you could say. But yeah, decent to see. Such a big manager coming into a job like that. Brilliant to see them after finishing 17th place last year. So not a great season really. 44 points, just above the relegation zone. But signings wise and departures wise, not many departures, not many new players coming in. None new signings which I'm really aware of really. But moving on to questions, how do you think it will affect the players, like knowing they've got such a well-known manager? Obviously, Simon, you know him. Obviously, I think a lot of people in the England football world will actually know him quite well, especially for giving David Beckham the captain's armband. That's quite a big thing. But do you think that will help them go towards a playoff spot this season, maybe?
I don't think it can do any harm, but my big reservation is, he's 72, so how would he relate to people that are over 50 years younger than him? And that's always going to be a problem, I think, because he will be expecting them to behave in a certain way, and his standards will be quite high, I would imagine. And I don't know whether at this level of football that's necessarily realistic. So I'd be interested to see how long he lasts there, because he's obviously stepping down in terms of level, in terms of his coaching ability. He could probably coach at higher levels than that. He's coached in Bahrain and in India as well. So he's got so much experience that I should imagine he would have been able to get a job further up the pyramid. But to the extent that people relate to him, it's difficult. They're a big club, Canvey Island, and they've got a big ground. Park Lane's got a 4,000 capacity, so they'll probably get decent crowds there. Winning the Essex Senior Cup's not going to hurt either. They look to me like a team that's going to finish just outside the playoffs, I would have thought, if he stays there and he can get them to gel. I'd have them at something like 8th.
8th place for Canvey. Sterling?
I'm smiling because mine's so far different to that. I think it's really good that they've got what's his name again? Sorry, the manager.
Pete Taylor.
Yeah, I think it's a really shrewd signing. He's going to bring loads of experience, know-how in how to win football matches, how to navigate different tactics. Obviously, he's coached at such high levels. He's going to have a really good knowledge of the game. So I think it's only going to be positive. You do make a good point, Dad, about being able to relate to the players, but I think tactically and with match experience and in-game tactics, it will benefit them a lot just with that know-how and game management side of it, really. But I've got them as 18th, I believe. 18th. I don't think they're gonna pull up trees massively. I think they will have just enough to survive with um, Pete Taylor coming in. I think that'll definitely help them a lot. But I don't think they're gonna change massively from last season. It was 17th.
Yeah.
So basically in the same place.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with you. I see him in 15th place myself. Not really threatening relegation, but just in a place where they know they can stay in the division. But
I think he'll definitely have good knowledge of the game. That's obvious, and good tactics with being in those types of environments like Premier League, Championship. Well, now Premier League clubs, and probably when he was at Brighton, Championship or League One clubs. Like professional league clubs. He'll definitely have some good experience and tactical know-how, but maybe a bit outdated. But we'll see.
yeah, I think winning the Essex Senior Cup's a big thing for them after not a great season in the league season, but winning silverware in non-league's quite a rare thing, which doesn't come that often. So winning that could spur them onto a decent league finish. But I've got them in 15th. I think having that experience will be massive for them. I think it will be a really beneficial thing for the players, especially when or if they do move on for the club. I think Pete Taylor will give the players some good knowledge, obviously, from playing in higher leagues. So that will be really beneficial to the players. But I've got them in 15th, not really threatening the playoffs and on the edge of the relegation zone, but not really in a relegation scrap for me. But near the playoffs for Simon, near the relegation zone for me and Sterling. But we will see how that goes next season. We now move on to Colshelton Athletic, who were founded back in 1905 and are from London Borough of Sutton. They play their football at the War Memorial Ground, which has 5,000 people, which is a lot of people. They've been in the league since 2017-18 season, so they've been trying to get out of the league for a long time. And it's with their manager since then, Peter Adewenji. If I'm saying that right, I might have said that wrong. But this was when he got reappointed after taking over from Steve McKim from the season before. But he comes in after last season. They were close to the playoff places in 7th place, 2 places off that, 6 points off of Dover. Yeah, not many signings to note on. They've lost Kawaki Fringpon to Worthing, who I've heard was a really good player for them. Actually, he moves on to
Yeah, he looks good. I've
yeah.
seen a few of his clips. He looks good.
They lost a club legend as well, another club legend going in non-league, Paris Hampton Downs, who leaves after 14 years at the club. That's a very hefty amount of time for non-league football. So fair play to him. He's gone to Mertz FC. But they've actually not signed anyone as of recording right now, which is very, very interesting. What do you think about that? Because not signing anyone in non-league football is absolutely mental. I don't think anyone else in the league hasn't signed anyone, so they're the only team to not sign a player. Do you think that shows the manager trusts his players a lot after decent league season last year.
They just strike me as a club that's happy to tread water. I mean, I've got them finishing 13th, so they're obviously quite capable of staying in this division. But they don't. There's nothing in their pre-season that suggests they got ambitions to do anything other than just tread water.
I think that they'll do quite well this season. I just like the look of them. Narrowly missed out last season. Building with the manager who's been there for a while, knows the club. I know there's not been many signings, but they kept that Brian Effenyi, winger. So I've got them to finish. Let me double check. I've got them to finish 9th. So I reckon they'll do all right.
Yeah, I've got them 11th place. I think they won't do as well as last season after some of the sides which have been relegated from the National League South coming into the league. I think they'll add a lot of quality to the league, especially like the size of the clubs. Welling are quite a big club. So I just think they'll struggle, especially now they haven't made like any signings at all. I mean, that's fair play to the club, who have definitely backed the manager a lot, but it could be the case of they're playing trialists, and then once the pre-season games are finished, they then sign players, which we have seen, which we will see right at the end at Wingate at Finchley, who have made about 7-8 signings in the last 2 days, just from try lists, but turning into actual permanent signings. So it could be something like that. So we'll have to wait and see. But I've got them in 11th place, finishing in and around the mid-table spot. Not really threatening relegation, not threatening promotion. Now we move on to Chatham Town. Chatham Town formed 143 years ago and are formed in Kent with a stadium capacity of 5,000 people, which is quite a lot of people, in the Bourville Stadium. Chatham's manager is a joint manager and chairman of the football club, which he's been doing since 2017, which is what Dorking's manager Mark White does as well. The season before last, they missed out on the title, finishing second to Hornchurch, who finished on 100 points, which is quite a whopping amount. But in the season before last, they won the Velocity Cup against #United 2-1, which was some silverware in the competition. But they nearly did the double last year as well, after losing in the final to Billericay, as we said before. So nearly a double of the Velocity Cup for Chatham Town. But they've brought in some new signings as well, quite a lot as well, signings-wise. Not sure on any of them, but they haven't sold a lot of players either. So brought in a lot of players, but haven't sold a lot, which shows more squad depth coming into the team this season. But what do you think of having a chairman manager? Do you think it's beneficial to the club having someone doing the financial stuff as well as the managerial stuff in the club?
Yeah, I mean, if he's got the energy to do it, I don't see it as a problem, really. You know you're going to have stability there as well, don't you? So I think that can only be a positive thing. I mean, they got a habit of winning games because of their experience in the Velocity Cup. So a decent crowds of 3,000. I think they would do okay. I've got them just on the outside of the promotion playoffs, around 7th. I think they'll do all right.
Yeah. Sterling?
Yeah, I think reiterate what Simon said as well. Chairman manager, I think if they know what they're doing in terms of tactics and stuff, and it worked well, they obviously know the club inside out. So yeah, I think it makes sense. I have them finishing. I've actually got them 4.
You got
I've
4.
actually got them 4. So I think they'll be able to push on from the season before last. I know they came 9th last season, but I think they'll push on a bit more. Good crowd behind them, and I've gone with them to push on a bit.
Yeah, I've gone with them in 8th, so I'm similar with Simon. I think they'll be threatening for the playoff places, but I just don't think I think it will take them another season. Obviously, winning the Velocity Cup 2 seasons ago will definitely be beneficial. Obviously, winning, as I said before, for Billericay, it's quite crucial that non-league teams win silverware because you don't really see it happen a lot because there's not many competitions that you can really win apart from obviously the FA Cup if you go on an absolutely monumental run and do that, or the FA Trophy. But yeah, I've got them in 8th place, around the playoffs, but not reaching them in the end, in my opinion. So that's it for Chatham Town. But we'll now move on to Chess Hunt. Chess Hunt have been formed since 1946. Play their games at the Theobald's Lane. They actually had a shirt sponsor last year of SV2. I don't know if you know him, Sterling, from YouTube.
No, I don't know them.
He was their kit sponsor last year, which gave them a bit of a publicity in the social media world, which is always a beneficial thing for non-league clubs.
Bit of money as well.
Yeah, exactly. Last season saw them staying in the league quite comfortably in 15th place. After last season, they got 43, so a little improvement from the season before, where they actually were in the National League South for a couple seasons ago in the 22-23 season, where they beat Lewis to the playoffs one year, and they won the playoffs that year to get into the National League South, but did get relegated in the end. But Mel Gwenwitt has replaced Craig Edwards at the club after nearly 7 years at the club. So quite a big change in management there for the club. 7 years experience has been changed, but new manager comes in after very good experience at Exeter City, MK Dons, Stevenage, so some higher clubs in different divisions. But signings wise, not sure of any again, but they have sold quite a few as well. So a lot of people released, a lot of people brought in. So I'm just going to talk about, obviously, not SV2 in particular, but just social media in general. How do you think social media is benefiting some non-league clubs just to create a bigger attendances, bigger knowing around the football world? Obviously, #United are a great example in this league, having like 500,000 subscribers on their YouTube, being well known all around the world. So, how do you think social media can help clubs like this?
Well, YouTube is the fastest growing social media platform out there. So if this guy's got a presence on that, it can only benefit the club. So, and at the end of the day, at this level of football, it's all about how much money you can get coming through the door. So if he's going to be able to get more money coming through the door, you're going to attract better players. So, I mean, they look like a club that's treading water a little bit to a certain extent. I don't think they were going to necessarily do anything different than they did last season. Although, you know, this manager coming in's got loads of experience from places like MK Dons and Exeter City, so he obviously knows his way around football, so he might be able to use those contacts to get other players in. So I think I've got him at 11th, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish higher than that if that money from the YouTuber attracts better quality players.
Yeah, it definitely has a massive benefit, mainly for the financial side, as you said. It's one of the most important things. And yeah, exactly that. If you can get more people coming to watch or creating YouTube videos based on it, something similar to Dorking or #, then it's only going to benefit the club. They've been a bit of a weird one. I think it's a bit touch and go when a team gets relegated. I touched on it before. Either really have a strong push or kind of drop back down, and they seem to, as you say, just be floating. I've got them to finish 15th. I think it's going to be tough with the transition with the manager. A lot of new signings coming in, quite a few departures as well. So I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, this is my rogue one. I put them down I
Put down.
put him in 19th place. I just think having a manager be at the club for so long, for so many years, getting you into the National League South, keeping you in the Isthmian Premier Division for a long time, which is one of the highest leagues they've played in the club's history. I just think changing that sort of a quality of manager, even though the new manager, of course, has a lot of experience, I think it can really affect them. Players might not be able to gel into the squad quick enough. As I said, we're not aware of the quality of the players, but they could be very good. But I just don't think they'll gel quick enough. I've got them down, which is one of my rogue ones, in 19th place. But hopefully they prove me wrong, because they've been known in recent years to be a really good side. Obviously, getting promoted in the 22-23 season. So yeah, definitely one to look out for on my side after putting them down. But different views there. We got one mid-table, floating relegation. So we'll see how that goes for Chess Hunt. But now we move on to Chichester City, who have recently been promoted to the league. I think it was 2 seasons ago, after a 1-0 win in the playoff final against Ramsgate in the Isthmian South East Division. They're based in West Sussex. Play at Oaklands Park in front of 2,000 people. Last season saw them have a really successful first time in the division. Obviously, getting really close to the playoff places over Dover Athletic, who got promoted to the National League South in the playoffs last year. Chichester played them on the last day, which was literally the playoff decider. Whoever won the game was going to be in the playoffs because of the goal difference being that close. But it was Dover who won the game in the end. They lost at home to Dover, so the away side winning 3-1, which made Chichester fall out of the playoff places on the final day, which was really an annoying thing to see, definitely for the fans. Obviously, being that close to a double promotion would have been very impressive for the club. But yeah, in the league again, not making a lot of signings. Manager Miles Rutherford has been at the club since 2015 now, so brilliant to see that. Obviously, loyalty to football clubs is something every football fan loves to see. So, good signings in. I actually do know one of them in Billy Vigar, who comes in, I think, previously from playing at Eastbourne Borough. He was at Arsenal's academy for a long amount of time. But the manager has not had any departures. He's bringing 2 new faces in Billy Vigar and Jack Ferrier. But coming so close to the playoffs is really heartbreaking, especially after being in the league close to being in the league below, and then coming into the league Isthmian Premier Division last season and nearly getting into the playoffs, having the chance of being promoted. How do you think they'll get on this season, knowing that they have the quality, especially now they've retained a lot of the players to push for a playoff spot?
Well, they're a surprising club, really, because they're really quite tiny in comparison to some of the other clubs. They always used to be a Sussex County League team, so this is obviously the highest level they've ever played at. I mean, the fact that they've done relatively well over the last couple of seasons, but not really brought anybody in, sort of suggests that they're going to start going backwards, I would have thought. So I've got them down at 10th. They're obviously well run, obviously a decent team, so might not necessarily have the best players in the division, but they obviously got a decent team ethic. So I think that's what really sustains them. And they keep going on FA Cup runs. I remember they went on an FA Cup run in the 1980s under a previous iteration. And they went on one in 2019 when they got through to the second round. And that's what I said before. It all adds up to money coming in the door. The more money you got coming in, the better you're going to be, the more successful you can potentially be at this level. But yeah, I got them just sort of going backwards a little bit, down in 10th.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at it from the other perspective to that. I think 2 seasons ago, promotion, last season just missing out on the playoff spots. I think with them not not having anybody go, and building on the squad that they've already got that's obviously done them well thus far. I think they'll continue to go strength to strength. You touched on it, that they've got obviously a good team, and maybe not the best players, the most well-known players in the league, but clearly good enough. Clearly got a good team bond with the manager as well. Manager knows what he's doing, so I think they'll stay there and about. So I've got them to finish 7th. So that's exactly where they finished last season, wasn't it? 7th.
Yeah. So pretty accurate to last season, you're saying, but I've got them sort of falling off. I think similar to you, Simon, sort of on a decline. But I think that's sort of where clubs in this league would have kind of expected them to be. I mean, last season was definitely exceeding expectations. Obviously, finishing near the playoff places after being promoted the season before. I think they came in the last playoff spot again, which is looking like to be like a little thing to prove your point in the playoffs at the moment, after so many teams have been promoted in the playoffs from that place. But I've got them in 12th place. I think 2 good signings there from playing. Obviously, Billy comes in from Arsenal Academy. I mean, that's quite a. He came from Arsenal Academy a few years ago. I remember he went on loan to Eastbourne Borough just a few seasons ago. Looked a very decent player, but bringing him in will just add to the quality. Obviously, they've retained a lot of players, which will obviously help them sustain where they want to be. Obviously, you saw last season, it nearly got them into the playoff play. So hopefully, they can push on to get into that playoff spot this season. But I don't think they will. I've put them in 12th place. Now we will move on to Cray Valley Paper Mills, who are a club based in Eltham and founded in 1919. There we go. Got it out eventually. They play at the Badgers Sports Ground, which has 2,000 people in it, and they had a very successful season last year. After nearly getting promoted, the same as Chichester, back-to-back, which shows the quality of the league below from the Isthmian South East Division last season, which could, seeing Burgess Hill getting promoted from that year, we could be proven wrong, as we've seen from Cray Valley last season, who got into the playoff spots, nearly getting into the final after losing to Dartford, who eventually went on to lose the final to Dover in the end. They came 4th in the actual league season, finishing on 77 points. First season in charge for Steve McKim's players. Brilliant season. This was after a really successful FA Cup run years before, where they played Charlton. I think it was in the 22-23 season, where they actually drew at Charlton's ground at the Valley, 1-1, but not a great return leg, losing 6-1 in the end. But obviously, getting a replay at a ground like that, former Premier League ground, is quite a big achievement for them. But he's been in charge for 2 years now, Steve McKim, and comes in to his 3rd year at the club. Obviously, a very successful tenure at the club so far, but he has lost quite a few players in the process, losing Clem Asawade, who I've seen on Lewis's social media, who they have lost. He was at the club for quite a while. He was involved in the game against in the FA Cup game. As well as Daniel Bowery, he was very crucial for them. He's also gone to Lewis, so 2 new recruits from Cray Valley for Lewis. But from the signings, Jerry Piumo's gone to the club from Lewis. I watched him a few times last season. Very good centre half on the ball. I think he got injured last season. Not too sure, but that's the only signing I'm aware of. But we're seeing a common theme, especially from Chichester just then, and we'll move on to Ramsgate later on in the podcast. They also got promoted from last season. How do you think it shows the quality in the side to get out of that division? It shows that it's quite a hard division to get out of, and when you do get out of it, you can really push, obviously, for playoffs and titles in this league.
Yeah, definitely. I think the playoff system's not very fair, but that's another conversation. I've actually got this lot going up as champions. I think they're going to do.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're going to go up as champions. I think they've just
Bro.
been in the door for the last 2 or 3 years. I think they.
Cray Valley Paper Mill fans are buzzing.
Sorry?
Cray Valley Paper Mill fans are buzzing, mate.
Yeah, I just think they've got the. They've just been there or thereabouts all the time through. And going back to your point, the quality in the division, is that reflected in things like how hard it is to get out of it? Well, I think it's reflected in the fact that they can go on FA Cup runs against against professional teams like Charlton and hold their own. They drew 1-1 at the Valley
At their place,
with Charlton. Charlton won the replay 6-1, but they wouldn't get that opportunity now. Charlton, they'd have to go to penalties. So, yeah, I think they've obviously got the infrastructure and the players in place. There's not a lot of churn there. They've got a few players going, but a few players coming in. But I think they've got to be strong favourites to go up.
Yeah, Sterling?
Yeah, I think it definitely shows the quality of the league below. And like I said earlier, just in general, these leagues, in non-league, they're such high quality leagues, and it's obviously given the confidence to come up into this league and do well. Finishing fourth is really good last season. 23-24 season with the FA Cup run, like we touched on. Yeah, I think they're going to finish 8th. I've got them in 8th. I don't think they're going to have quite as much as some of the teams coming down, some teams like Billericay, but I think they'll be there and abouts.
Yeah. No, I've got them in 6th, so literally just one place outside of the playoffs. I think keeping the manager in is a really good achievement because I think clubs around higher leagues might have had a look at him, seeing as, going from one league to another and nearly getting promoted back to back is really an impressive thing and sort of makes a statement for him as a manager, really, showing that he can do that 2 seasons in a row. So fair play. But losing quite a lot of players, I think 6th place is a reasonable spot because I think they've lost quite a few of their players that they had last season, which was a very successful first season last year. But haven't brought in as many players. So I think just outside the playoff places, they'll be fighting for it, but won't achieve it come the end of the season. But as Simon says, they could go on and win the league, which is my rogue shout was Chess Hunt going down, and it's not a rogue shout, but definitely a shock. It will probably be a shock to some fans that Simon has put Cray Valley Paper Mills as the champions of the league, but I would love to see that happen because that would definitely be a well-known story. But we now move on to Cray Wanderers, who were formed back in 1860, so a long, long time ago. They play at Flamingo Park, which has a capacity of 2,500 people. Last season was just an average season for them in general. 10th place, 61 points. This was under former manager Neil Smith, who leaves the club after being there since 2022. He is replaced by Tim O'Shea. He comes into the management game for the first time in 14 years after getting Lewis relegated back in 2011. So a long time after being in management, he returns to be the manager of Cray Wanderers. They've had some decent experience playing Crystal Palace 11, so basically the 21 side, the youngsters, they drew to them. As well as a 2-2 draw to Bromley 23. So some decent experience against some high quality academies. But Cray have been in the division since 2019-20 season. Does it show that, especially for Cray, how difficult it is to get out of this division?
Yeah, it goes back to the same point. It's really hard to get out. I've got them sort of coming 9th, so similar to where they finished the last season, really. You can't really tell
Yeah.
by the quality of players they've got coming in whether they're going to make a difference. It'll only one you actually see them play, I guess. Playing against Crystal Palace or Crystal Palace 11 is going to be an experience for some of them, but a lot of these players have probably played in academies anyway. I would have thought that nowadays this level of football isn't going to feature.
Yeah.
They might be plumbers and brickmakers now, but I should imagine they've all come from a sort of
From a
academy.
Premier League academy or
So
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, Sterling?
I've got them to come 13th. Yeah, I think floating a little bit. Top half last season, 10th. But losing their manager after 14 years. New manager coming in after 14 years, losing the manager that's just come, is going to be a bit of a shock to the system. He's going to have to adapt. The team's going to have to adapt. And yeah, I think they'll kind of just float similar to what they did last season. Mid-table, 13th for me.
Yeah, I've got them in the exact same place as you, Sterling, 13th. I think decent signings they're made. Muirhead from Lewis, who actually quite impressed me. I think he was a winger last year for Lewis. Ashton Nazala, I think he comes from a higher league. He's a very decent centre half, I'm pretty sure. So some decent signings, but I just don't think they'll really improve that much. There's not really any major signings which really blow your head off. So I think they'll go to 13th. A little bit of a decline from last season. But now we move on to Dartford, who obviously came up short in the playoff final last year. They are from Kent and play their football at Princess Park in front of 3,500 people. After they were in the National League South for 9 years before they got relegated. Not this season, but last season. Last season, obviously, they were very close to returning to the National League South straight away, but they lost in the playoff final, as we've said a few times this episode, to Dover in final 2-0 after beating Cray Valley Paper Mills 4-3 in the semi-finals. So they'll be looking to return to the National League South this season, you would have imagined. But manager Adrian Pencock has been at the club since 2024. He's had a very successful run, winning nearly 50% of his games. Who had actually a decent playing career, playing 131 times for Bournemouth, which is quite a decent achievement for him. But do you think coming into this league from the National League South, we've seen a few teams do it, as we've mentioned before, Chess Hunt. Do you think it's a real struggle to go straight back up from this league after getting relegated from the National League South?
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of churn with relegation, aren't you? So that's obviously what affected them last season, I would have thought. I got them going into the playoffs again. I think they're a big club, Dartford. I was quite surprised to see their capacity is only 3,500 because I've definitely seen them playing on the telly in the past when they've had cup runs. And I think they were a Football League club for a little while. I may be wrong about that. But yeah, I think they will go into the playoffs and they'll be a difficult team to stop in the playoffs. I think they've got a lot of quality. That they showed that last year, and they, there've been a little bit of churn with players leaving, but I wouldn't have thought that would have changed the overall quality of the squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said, haven't we, about how hard it is to get out of this division, and like you said about the churn from getting relegated. It's the psychological effects of that are massive on the players and on the staff. That it's hard to come back from, to just bounce back when you've been losing more or less every game. Not last season, obviously, because they were in this division, but season before last, it's hard to bounce back, and that was shown. But they did just narrowly miss out. I think they'll be back up there. I've got them coming second. It was really a toss-up between them and Billericay for me, but Billericay finished above them last season. I reckon they'll go on to win it. I think Dartford will come second.
Yeah, I've got them to win the league. They're going to be my predicted league winners this year. I just think they'll have a bit of hunger about them. Losing the playoff final, give them a bit of perseverance to go and win the league. Obviously, manager Adrian Pencock will definitely have something about him after having such a successful tenure at the club so far. Want to keep that going this season after, as I said before, winning 50% of the games. Quite a good achievement. But yeah, I think they'll win the league. I think they've kept the core of their squad and brought in some decent players as well. Not that I've heard of, but I think they'll win the league. Might be wrong, but Dartford fans, I'm backing you to win the league this season. So hopefully, my thoughts come true, and then you both had them in the playoff places, right? Didn't you? So
Well, I had them second. Where do you have them, Dan?
yeah, so
Fourth.
we've all got them at a chance of promotion this season, which is obviously a good thing in general. But now we move on to Dulwich Hamlet, who are definitely a well-known club in non-league football pyramid for one of the best sets of fans in non-league. Had highs of 3,300 people coming to watch them at home and away, which is absolutely mental. So got to give the props to the Dulwich Hamlet fans. Last season really wasn't successful for them. Definitely would have been a scare for the fans that follow them home and away after finishing one place above the relegation zone, 5 points off of it. It's their third season after being relegated from the National League South on goal difference in the 22-23 season. So they'll be looking to try get back into that division this year. They replaced their manager last season after isn't really it's somewhere that the club doesn't really want to be after being in higher leagues for quite a long time recently. They bring in Mark Dacey, who's previously been manager at Sevenoaks, Hill Park, and also SC Dons, the social media side, which is quite a big appointment from them. But he returns to football management in the Football League at Dulwich after they've been on tour in Germany, actually, where lots of Dulwich Hamlet fans, I don't want to get copyrighted and show the images, but if you look up their Instagram, they've brought numbers out to Germany where they played out on a 93, drawing 1-1. But that's just absolutely brilliant to see, obviously, having that. I think it was around 300, 400 fans going to Germany to watch them play a pre-season friendly away from home in the middle of goddamn nowhere, which is brilliant. It's really good to see, obviously. But they've made some good signings as well. Toby Ball, former Lewis goalkeeper, and actually former Brighton youth goalkeeper as well. He's on.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he is on the Baller League as well for Simon Miniminter's team of the Simon MM7. That's the only notable signing I'm aware of from that. But they've not actually lost a lot of players. They've only sold 3 players in the process. I mean, question about it. I mean, how crucial do you think it is, and how inspiring do you think it is for the players just like going out in a non-league game at step 7 of the football pyramid and going to Germany and seeing about 400 people come to watch it? I mean, it must be a special feeling for the players.
Yeah, it is, but this sort of suggests to me that there's something fundamentally wrong with the quality of the players at the club, because reading that about the support they're getting and the form they get on overseas tours, they should be one of the favourites to get promoted, but they're not. And I don't think they're a very good team. I don't think the team reflects the support. I've got them last. I think they go straight down. The quality of the support quality of the support is undoubted, but if you had that quality of support allied to good management and good players, you would storm this league. And that we've already talked about the quality of supporters in this league. There's a hardcore at pretty much every club. But reading what you've written about Dulwich Hamlet, it seems to be a step above that. And the fact that they're not consistently challenging to get promoted makes me think that there's a fundamental flaw in the quality of the players. So, yeah, I've got them stone last.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Sterling.
I do think that's a bit harsh. I've got them to come 19th, so I do think they're going to go down as well. But I think in terms of the going to Germany, I don't see it in bad way. I think it provides good experience for the team to bond. Going out on a tour together, get the camaraderie going. We know as players, George, what it's like to get a good relationship, and it can be hard if you're just coming in and seeing them. These teams at this level aren't full time, so coming in twice, three times, maybe a week, you're not going to build as good of a bond as if you didn't have that time away in pre-season. So I think for that thing it's good, but for that reason it's good. Sorry, but with a new manager coming in, just finishing above relegation last season, I know they've brought in Toby Ball, who I think is quality, and a few guys from the league as well. I mean, Tom Chambers from Cray Valley, Paper Mills, Amadou Casarate from Folkestone as well. They've brought in some decent players by the looks of it, but I just think they're going to struggle. 19th
Yeah,
for me.
I think they're going to struggle as well, but not enough to get them relegated. I've got them in 14th place, which I still think isn't where the club wants to be. I think, as you say, Simon, the fans will probably be wanting more positive results this season, seeing as how many fans they bring to games at such a not such a low level, but just a level at football where you don't see as many fans as they bring to football games. But yeah, I've got him in that place. I think the manager just doesn't really have enough experience for the league. Being played. No offense to social media sides, but FC Dons I think only just joined the football league, so
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not sure what step that is, but it's not anything against obviously managerial experience. Just I think the step up for him might be a bit too much, but I think he'll get used to it. And 14th place, I think, is not too bad in the end for them going into next season. Now we move on to Folkestone Invicta, who have been formed since 1936. They've been fighting to get promoted out of this division since 2015-16 season. So that is a very long time. I think I can't remember who I mentioned. It might have been Colchester, who've been really struggling to get out of this division. And it's the same for Folkestone Invicta here. They were in the playoff places once, but the season got cut off, unfortunately, due to COVID-19. But when the season did resume, they didn't have the same luck finishing outside of the playoff places, which is really the closest they've came since being promoted to the division in 2015-16 season. Last season wasn't great, mid-table, 58 points, just bang on average, not threatening relegation, not threatening promotion. So overall, just an average season for the club overall. But they have beaten Dover, who just recently got promoted from the division, and have drawn to Tunbridge Angels. So they've given teams from the league above some really good tests in pre-season. New manager Jay Saunders comes in. He replaces Andy Jury after he was previously at Tunbridge Angels. So he leaves Tunbridge Angels and now joins Folkestone Invicta for this year. Where they have brought in, as I said before, Montel McKenzie comes in from Billericay, which is the only notable player I've seen. I think Evans Kwasi has gone to #United, I think I've seen, which was I think he was quite a big player for them last season, so quite a big loss for them. But obviously it's another team which is struggling to get out of the division like we've seen, but we've seen a lot of signings and a lot of departures for a new manager. Do you think it's a common theme for managers to depart players which an old manager has and bring in players which he knows will fit into the system he wants to play?
Yeah, there's too much churn there for me. They're just going to tread water. I've got them 14th. So I think too many players coming in, too many players going out. They've also got a bit of quality about them, finishing just outside the playoffs a few years ago, but I don't think they're going to challenge, and I wouldn't have thought they'd struggle either, looking at some of the other clubs in the division. So yeah, bang in the middle, 14th for me.
Yeah, Stellan?
Yeah, to answer your question, I think managers have their style of play that they want to play and players that suit that. So at this level, when you're coming in and these players aren't of the standard of Premier League or league clubs, so when a manager's coming in, it's not like you can necessarily adapt a player to do a different type of role,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, like you could do with a player playing in the upper echelons of the pyramid. So I think that's a reason for the churn. They just want to get players that suit their system, suit their way of playing. I don't think they're going to do amazing. I think similar to last season, I've got them finishing 12th. So yeah, it's going to be hard for them to gel. So many players coming in, it's been a common theme. So many players going out, similar really.
Yeah, I've got them in 9th, I'm pretty sure. I think I've done this because I think not many teams have as much experience as they do in this division. So I think that's a really good benefit they have against other teams in the division, especially like Brentwood, for example, first time in the division in their club's history. So I think they have that advantage. I don't think they'll be pushing for the playoffs that much. I think there'll be a points tally away where they're just focusing on getting as many points as possible, nowhere near relegation. But I think new manager coming in after being in the league for so long might switch up some of the outcomes on the pitch, maybe some better results and better points tallies, which might help them get up the league table next season. But yeah, I've got them in 9th place for this season. We now move on to the social media team, now semi-professional club #United. Very well-known side around the world and especially around the UK, who were formed back in 2016. Obviously meant to be just a YouTube team. Spencer Owen, obviously a famous YouTuber, just made the club for a social media team with his mates and family, but it turned into a non-league club like SC Dons have recently done. Spencer obviously owns the club, and he started them in Football Pyramid in 2018, and Jay Devro, their manager, has been the manager since, and he's absolutely flown them through the divisions, getting them promoted to the league in the 22-23 season from the Isthmian North Division, winning the title that time. But the club has 650,000 subscribers on YouTube and 505,000 followers on Instagram. So they're obviously a very, very well-known club in the football non-league world. Last season, they actually came kind of close to the playoff places. 12 points off them on 64 points. They did threaten at some points, I do remember, but just not close enough to get anywhere near them in the end. But this pre-season, they lost 4-1 to Chelmsford and haven't really played any teams from higher divisions, but have won 3 out of the 4 pre-season games they've played so far, with Evan Kwasi, as I said before, coming in from Folkestone and Victor, which is quite a big name, and Sakare Hassan, who was a very, very big player for them last season. He moves on to Wildstone in the National League, so a big move for him on a professional contract, which is brilliant for him, obviously. Also, Ayo Alakonga, I don't know if you remember him from us watching him at Lewis a few times. He leaves Lewis. He leaves after being at Lewis before. I'm not sure where he's actually ended up. But obviously, the following on YouTube is just really good to see, especially it gives the league a bit of publicity as well, obviously # being in it. Do you think the players have some pressure on them knowing that they've got that many people? It's probably 100,000 people plus watching them on YouTube week in, week out.
No, I don't think so. I think they know exactly what they're signing up for when they sign up to play for a club like this. So I would have imagined if they're sensible about recruitment, they're not going to recruit people that are going to be worried about that sort of thing. So I should imagine, I mean, this is the first game we're going to see in a couple of weeks. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of the way they carry themselves, I suppose, is what I'm looking for. Do they carry themselves like people that are used to that sort of pressure? And I should imagine they are, quite frankly. I've got them finishing 6th. I think they're going to be right up there around the playoff places. They've obviously got huge potential. If they're getting that sort of viewing figures on social media, then the monetization of that must be astronomical. So
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what they're like. But yeah, I've got them just outside the playoffs. I think they'll do really well.
Yeah, nice. Sterling?
Yeah, I don't think it's. There definitely is pressure that could come with it, but I think Dad hit the nail on the head. Like, they will recruit players based on having the confidence and being assured of themselves to deal with that, and that they have done. You've got PK Humble, who's, we know George is a character.
Yeah.
He relishes it. You've got Toby, who relishes it as well. I think it makes him step up as well. They've been playing in that TST, I think, or TS Sevens
Yeah.
tournament pre-season,
Mm.
which I think could potentially. There's been a chance for silverware, so there's that aspect of it, but I think that could potentially have a negative effect on them going into the start of the season because, I mean, it's not sevens football, it's 11 aside, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know about the other teams that are playing in this tournament, but you see other teams in this division going to play teams in National League South, National League, and Premier
Okay.
League academies. So
Yeah.
I think that would be better use of their time, in my opinion. But I've got them to finish 10th. I think maybe looking back on it, it's a bit harsh. I think probably they could finish a few places up, but they're growing well. Devs is a really good manager. Obviously, they got the money side of it, so I think they will keep growing. But I just think I've got them as 10th this season. It's going to be a tough fight for them, and I don't think pre-season's helped them, to be honest.
Yeah, I've got them in 10th as well. I think they've not really recruited that many players into the club as they probably are used to. I mean, I think it's very helpful. I mean, players that Spencer might be like going in for, maybe it might add a bit of interest for the players that he's going for, knowing that it might get him a bit of publicity. Obviously, PK Humble was flourished it since he joined the club. I think back in like 20 in their promotion season, so 22-23 season. Since then, he's absolutely flourished on the internet, a well-known social media person now. But yeah, I just don't think they'll improve that much, and I think a mid-table finish is fair enough for them, seeing as they haven't really recruited that much. But as you said, Sterling, I think you make a great point with the ownership and all the money that Spencer will be bringing into the club. I think they'll just keep growing and growing, and probably expect them to get out of this division sometime soon with the money he's going to be investing into the club. So yeah, good luck to hashtag next year. Okay, so moving on to Lewis now. We have lost Simon. He is feeling unwell, unfortunately, so we will hopefully see him next time. But we now move on to Lewis, as I said, who we will be watching on the 9th of August at Hashtag United. So looking forward to that on the first game of the season. But of course, the Dripping Pan is where they play, well-known non-league ground around the UK in East Sussex, where they've been in this division since the 2018-19 season now and have been near the playoff places recently, but sort of had a fall off last season under Craig Nelson, in where they finished below mid-table in 13th and 58 points. But this season they bring back Bradley Pritchard, who's a very well-known man at the club who played 100 times for them as a player. I did watch him as a player quite a few times. Also has his own community garden at the ground as well, which is quite funny. But at the top of the fan. But now he joins as the manager, so a very well-known face around the ground. last season was a drop-off from what Lewis have recently been like in the Isthmian Premier Division. Why do you think that might be?
Yeah, it was a weird one. With Lewis being the most local side to us, we got out to watch him a couple times, and I know the same for you, follow them definitely the closest. It was weird. They had such a good start under Craig Nelson. Just thought they were going to continue. Had such good players with especially Eddie Alsop and Marcus Savila, who have now actually left, which is really upsetting. I think I'd probably put it down to a lot of it anyway. Injuries, because those two both got injured and they were out for a lot of the season, so I think that killed them a bit. I'd probably put it down to that. That's definitely going to affect them going into this season. Toby Ball, we mentioned earlier as well, has gone to Dulwich, really good keeper. So three really big players there, and it's worth mentioning about Danny Bassett, who I think was top goal scorer last season. He's going to miss a significant chunk of the season because he's banned. So, I mean, I think that mixed with, there's been loads of new signings. I mean, you said you know this Maguire Drew, is that correct?
Yeah, Maguire Drew, yeah, he's a good player. Yeah.
Yeah, so they might have brought in some good players, but I think with those really key players going out, new manager, yes, he knows the club very well, but I don't really know how much experience he has as a manager. You might be able to correct me, but I don't think it's loads.
First job in managerial, so yeah, could affect him.
Yeah. So unfortunately, hurts me to say, I do think Lewis is going to struggle, but with the stature of the club, they've got loads of money behind them with the women's team doing so well. So I think they'll be mid-table. I've gone with 11th.
Yeah, nice. I've put them in the playoff places, just in the playoff places, in 5th place. I think it's just because of the signings they've actually brought in. I've actually, when you know some of the signings, it's quite a promising sign. Obviously, Ollie Starkey on loan from Worthing is a great winger. Finley Chadwick, he comes from Worthing, I think, as well. Jordan Maguire-Drew, as you said, I know. I think he played for Barnet and lots of other EFL clubs. Obviously, they've lost a lot of players, a lot of quality players, but I think the manager, knowing the club very well, I know it's his first time being in a managerial role, but I think with the players hopefully gelling quickly together, with my bias coming into play, I've put them in 5th place. But it might be very different. As you said, mid-table, I think that's very respectable going into the season. So we'll see how they get on.
I hope they can push on. It would be good if they can push on, for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because we are going to the first game of the season. So we will report on how both teams do play, obviously, in our game week 1 season results. So look out for that. But next club, Potters Bar Town, also known as the Scholars, formed back in 1960. Played games at the Lantern Stadium, which is quite an interesting name. But attendance was back in the FA Cup preliminary round, which had 2,000 people, which is their maximum capacity they've ever had. Last season was a mid-table finish, 14th on 57 points, which is their best point since being in the league. So promising stuff for them. But since being in the league, they've very consistently finished between the 15th and 13th position. So in around that range every time, really, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, showing some really good consistency, keeping themselves in the division for a long amount of time. But Max Mitchell been their manager since 2023, so obviously used to what the club has. So that's always a good thing. They haven't actually lost a lot of players. Prosper Keto went to Cray Wanderers as the club we mentioned before, but they've also brought in a lot of new signings. I think that's about 15-ish there. I'm not sure if I know any of them really. No, I don't think I do. but a lot of signings coming into the squad there, but not a lot of them going. So, do you think they can keep that consistency up coming into this season, or do you think a lot of signings they've made, will help them bolster them up the table a little bit more into this season?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think they'll definitely be consistent of staying in the division. I don't have much doubt about that. It's hard to say. I don't really know any of the signings. I don't know much about the team, just of the research that we've done for the podcast. So, yeah, I'm going to go with, I don't think they're going to push on. I think 14th again is what I've got. So exactly where they finished last season.
Yeah, I can respect that. I've got them 16th, just on the basis of, as I said before, keeping consistently is very impressive, but doing it for a long amount of time, I think they might struggle coming into this season. I've got them in 16th, so a little bit below their standards, but I just think, bringing in that many players, it's, as I said before, about 15, so that's a whole new squad really coming into the side. So hopefully, with their manager being there before, he's clearly wanted to rebolster a new side. Hopefully, all the players he's brought in are similar to the system he wants to play. So hopefully, they can prove me and you wrong and maybe push for a promotion spot this coming season. So we'll have to wait and see for that. So good luck to them. Moving on to Ramsgate, who have recently just been promoted to the league from the Isthmian South East Division, which has been mentioned a lot of times for the quality of that league in this podcast so far. They went on to win the title after nearly winning the league the year before that. The year before that as well, they went on a famous FA Cup run, which is always really good money-wise for non-league football teams, finishing in the second round proper after they beat Woking in the first round. So I think that's 3 leagues above them, which is very impressive. Playing Wimbledon away, eventually losing 5-0, unfortunately, but obviously a really good cup run to remember in the long run for them in the end. So congratulations for them to that. But also bring a good following with them as well. Last season in their promotion title winning game, they bring 3,300 people to the ground, which is really good to see, and won the league with a whopping 109 points, only losing 3 games all season. So very, very good season overall for Ramsgate, who, as we've seen, might push on for a promotion spot, seeing how teams from that division have been doing recently as well. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But manager recently has just been winning them league titles, getting into FA Cup second rounds, first round of the FA Trophy. So very successful time at the club since he's been in. So you've got to hope for good things coming into the season. But one big thing which is really probably going to hurt him is former Lewis player, actually Joe Taylor, leaves the club after being the club's all-time top goal scorer. He was an absolute machine. I think he was at the club for 2 seasons and got over 100 goals in that time, which is just like absolutely.
That's mental.
It's absolutely.
He was good for Lewis as well, wasn't he?
He was very, very good for Lewis. He was a main reason why they were near the playoff places at the time, getting 35, 40 goals consistently. So he was brilliant for Lewis, and he moves on to National League South now, Hornchurch. So that'll be a massive loss for them, a really big loss. But they bring in some experience to replace it. Anthony Grant from Welling. He's had 500 appearances across the EFL and the National League, so some very well-needed experience, definitely, seeing as he's been in such high leagues, and Ramsgate have come into the league now as a newly promoted side, so good to see that. But losing such a player as Joe Taylor, having been scoring the goals for fun for the last 2 seasons, how big of a loss do you reckon that'll be for them coming up into this season?
Yeah, massive. You need a goal scorer. I know they signed this Mitch May, who's a striker, but I don't know how good this May is. And to lose your top goal scorer is never a good sign. He's well on scoring all the goals. They've now got to replace him. It doesn't bode well going into a higher league and a more competitive league as well. So I think they're going to struggle, to be honest. They have made some good signings, actually. Anthony Grant from Welling United, 500 appearances across the EFL and National League. So that's a good signing. And then Rafe Brown from Maidstone as well, and Ryan Kingsford from Sittingbourne. I think the signings they've got coming could potentially make up for that, but obviously you're going to be missing all those goals. It's that is a real worry for them. Yeah, I've got them finishing 20th.
Yeah, I've got them in the exact same place. I just think losing such a big player like that, as he said, scoring the goals. I think he's got 103 goals from the last 2 seasons. I mean, that's just absolutely outrageous. I mean, you've got to give props to him. And he's gone 2 leagues above now. I think he's sort of testing himself, seeing how many goals he's scored in 2 leagues below. I think he knows he's definitely capable of scoring goals in the league above. So losing a player like that I think it's going to be really critical to them after having good seasons of success recently. I think it will unfortunately come to an end this season, and I'll go back to the Isthmian South East Division this season, finishing in 20th place for me as well, as you said. So, yeah, sorry, Ramsgate fans, we've both got you going down, unfortunately. But we now move on to St Albans City, who have just been relegated from the National League South as well, who are from Hertfordshire, capacity of 5,000 people, so a big ground for this league especially. They were just 1 point off of safety. I think they lost on the last day to eventual winners of the league, Truro City, so not much they could have done there. So unfortunately, they exit the National League South for the first time since 2014-15 season. So that's a massive hit for the club. Then after being in the playoff places in the 22-23 season, so a big fall off since then, unfortunately for the club. But they come into this league with a bit of experience. Ian Cleverhouse has been at the club since 2023 now. He's been at Kingsland, Catering Town and Boston before then, after having a decent playing career at Norwich. 300 games. Very impressive. From 1982 to 2000, his player career lasted. So a good playing career as well as a ongoing managerial career. So, after being so close to the playoffs in the league above on one occasion and now fall into this division the next season, I mean, it must really hit the club badly after being so close to being a league higher the season before.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have its toll on the players psychologically. Obviously, you're going to step down. You've gone from National League South to Isthmian Prem. So there's that. Going losing a lot of games, most games last season on their road to relegation. Then you've got the financial side of it as well, which we've touched on. Players might have had bigger wages, which then might affect them this season with less money coming in. So, yeah, it is going to be tough for them. I do think that they'll be okay, though. I think with that know-how and experience of so long in National League South, and then this being their first season in the Isthmian for a while, I think they'll be thereabouts. I've got them to finish third. So I think they're going to do well. New signings coming in, more new signings and departures. So, yeah, I think they'll do all right.
Yeah, I've got them in 4th place. I think they're going to get promoted via the playoffs this season. I think, obviously, getting to the playoffs is one achievement, but then when you get into the playoffs, I think having that experience in the leagues above is going to help them massively when they get into that. If they get into that situation, obviously, having that experience over other clubs, actually lost Sean Jeffers. I think I remember him being quite a decent player for them as a striker, as well as Josh Costaglione. Might have butchered that pronunciation, but I think he was a decent player. But yeah, I think they'll get promoted via the playoffs. I don't think they have made any like big signings to be near the title winning spot, which I think belongs to Dartford in my opinion this season. But I reckon they go up via the playoffs this season. So good luck to them going into this season. Now, moving on to Welling, who were also relegated alongside St Albans from the National League South last season. The Wings play at Parkview Road in London, which has a capacity of 4,000 people. Not a great season for them overall last year. 38 points, missing out on safety by 8 points. So really cemented themselves in that relegation spot. 2 wins in 17 games from January to the end of the season. I mean, it's a big factor in how they've gone down, that is. So their first time being out of the in the league, being out of the National League or the National League South since 2011. So as I said for St Albans as well, it's going to be a massive hit for the football club, being in this division for the first time in that many years. But they bring the new manager in Lee Martin, who actually comes in from being a player at Ramsgate, so similar to Lewis with Bradley Pritchard. It's his first managerial role as a manager after being a decent player. I think he was at Exeter, started his career at Man United, and played for 18 different clubs. I mean, he was in Belgium, Rangers, Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United, so all these loan moves while he was at Man United. So definitely good playing experience, which he can give to the players, which is really good to see. But as we can see on the information list here, they have made a lot of signings, 18 to be exact. I mean, that is a hefty new squad Lee Martin has made under his new management. I mean, there's a common theme of, managers from this league which are new, bringing in players, a whole new squad in general, and just selling players which he's not familiar to. Do you reckon that's a reason for players he's bringing in familiar to the system he wants to play? So just like, for example, he wants to play a high press, he wants a hard working striker, for example. Do you reckon that's a reason why he brings in so many players to suit a system he wants to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I touched on it earlier. Managers are going to want players that suit their system. So I think definitely. I do think there's a lot of new signings. There's a few departures, but not many. So they seem to have kept quite a lot of their team from last season, which obviously is a step above. So I actually think they're going to do quite well this season. I have them finishing 6th, so just outside the playoffs.
Yeah.
That is just outside the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I think they'll do all right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think they'll do really well this season after bringing in a new manager. I think that's probably needed after quite a poor season last season in the National League South. Probably a time for a change. And Lee Martin brings really good experience, although he hasn't had a managerial job before. As Bradley Pritchard for Lewis, he was at Charlton for a few years. I think it's important to bring in a manager that's had experience in his playing time, which he can sort of provide information to his players as well. So obviously, playing in this league, they would have played in leagues well above this. So they'll have some managerial tips which could probably help, like hold out a 0-0 draw or something like that, which is good to see. But bringing in a new squad, I think it will be beneficial to them. I think it would have helped. They're quite a well-known club for steps above, so players want to be part of his project, try to get a promotion, league title maybe in them. But I've got them in 3rd place. I think they won't go up and they'll get knocked out in the playoffs to Lewis, and then Lewis will lose the final to St Albans. I've got my predictions. But yeah, I think they'll get into the playoffs quite comfortably, but I think they'll bottle it in the playoffs. Unfortunately for Welling fans. So moving on to Whitehawk, our second to last team in the league for this season. Whitehawk are based in East Sussex, Brighton, so very near to us. They play at the McLaren Enclosed Ground, which has 3,100 people in it, which is a pretty decent crowd. They returned to the league 3 seasons ago, where they were promoted via the playoffs in the 22-23 season. Last season, they comfortably stayed in the division, with Sean Saunders coming in the middle of the season, where the former manager, can't remember his name, I think it was Dave Aldroff or something like that. Something Dave he replaced, who stepped down.
Alton drop.
Alton Droff out of that, thank you. But yeah, they finished in ninth, decent season last year. They were near the playoffs actually in the 22-23 season, nearly getting the playoffs by 11 points, so decent season. But they've been in the National League South before, so they've been in steps above in a few years ago, so they're familiar to leagues above. So coming into this season, they are familiar to this league, especially. I think this is our third or fourth season in a row being in this division. They've lost Jordan Maguire-Drew from Lewis, who joined Whitehawk after being a shock signing for Whitehawk after Maguire-Drew dropped down about 3 or 4 levels to join the club, but now he moves on to Lewis in the same league, obviously. But no big name signings to make name of, really. I mean, Alfie Rogers, I know from watching New Haven a few times, but that's about 2 levels below, so not a really big name signing. But they've kept a lot of players from last year, but I think lots of players they've brought in have been at the club before. So do you think that'll help them sort of settle in quickly, knowing that they know the ins and outs of the club, so it'll help them settle into the club quicker than other clubs, obviously?
I think definitely it's more beneficial than teams who have got a whole new team basically coming in. I do think it adds a sense of stability, which is always good. Allows the team and players to get to know each other better, grow more as a group, have better understanding of the football club, feel more comfortable around it. So I think it's definitely beneficial. I think it'll definitely help them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. I think it will help them, but not enough to keep them up. Unfortunately, I've got them to go down in 21st place. I just think some experience going, especially in their main man last season, Jordan Maguire-Drew. I think he's a really good player. I think Lewis have got a good player in their hands, getting him into the club. But I just think I don't see their squad being good enough. I mean, some of the players have played from lower divisions, but as we've seen from obviously Ramsgate, Chichester, players have played from lower divisions and still been brilliant in the league above. And as we've seen with Cray Valley as well, they've got into the playoffs. So they can, of course, prove me wrong. I mean, it's quite a rogue shout for myself putting them down, but I just think there's not enough squad depth there and quality in the squad to keep them up for next season. But where did you have it?
Fair enough. I had them in 16th. Yeah, 16th.
Yeah.
I think obviously 23-24 season before last, 9th place was good. Their first season back in the league, only 11 points off playoffs. Last season, a little drop down, but still comfortably stayed in the league when the new manager took over. So I think they'll be all right again. I do agree that losing Jordan Maguire-Drew is going to be a big miss. And other of the guys going to Dulwich Hamlet, I don't really know much about. But I think they'll be safe. I think they'll do similar to what they did last season. 15th.
Yeah, fair enough.
16th.
Going on
Sorry.
to the last team. We've got there eventually. Last team in the Isthmian Premier Division, Wingate and Finchley, who were formed back in 1991, so quite recently compared to some other clubs being formed in 1860, which is a very long time ago. They play at Riverside Stadium with a capacity of 2,600 people, and they've been in this league since 2011, which is a long, long time. I mean, this is their 15th time participating in the division over recent years. They got in the playoffs in the 2023-24 season, where it looked like they might have got promoted out of the division for the first time in a long, long time, and they did lose to Enfield, who eventually did get promoted via the playoffs that season. But he was appointed manager in 2022. He's their manager coming into this season. As before, he was a sporting director at the club, but decent opposition they've played. They've played Bournemouth and Enfield, who are two teams from the league above, so some experience against high opposition, as well as bringing in, as I said, I think before in the podcast, they bring in a lot of players in the last 2 days, which I think have been trialist players. So I think I think they've made 10 signings in 2 days. So they've brought in the players they want late. I think they've seen how they play under the manager's system, which is good to see how they perform under his style. They've had a few departures as well, but they've also, obviously, with the departures, they've replaced them with a lot of signings. So going into the season, do you think it's beneficial that the manager's given the trialists, which have now turned into signings, time to settle into the club and get used to the system he wants to play before the season starts?
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial to give them that time to settle in. New club is always difficult to find your feet. Obviously, the manager's going to want to see where he thinks they're strong, where he can improve them, how they can settle into the team. So I definitely think it's beneficial, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I do just think they're floating, though. Like, I know Dad mentioned it previously about another club. I just think these guys are floating. Been in the division for 15 years now. Not really pushed the playoffs except for 1 year, 2023, 24. So I just think they're floating. I think they're going to drop down the league, not get relegated, but finish lower than they did last season. I think 17th, just narrowly avoid it.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. 17th for me. I think the manager has been at the club quite a while. He's got them in the playoff places on one occasion, but since then that's not really happened again, and they've sort of been at where they were for the last 15 years being in the division. But some decent names coming in. Sam Cornish, I recognise, and Adam Lovett, who I'm familiar with from non-league. But apart from that, I think they've bolstered in attack. I think I've seen that on their Instagram page. I think they've got a new attack going into the season, so maybe a new strike force could push them up the table. But as I said, I'm the same as you, with Wingate and Finchley in 17th place, which is our last team on the Isthmian Premier Division. So we have finally made it to the end of our first episode on the Isthmian Premier Division. It's taken us a while. Our first episode, getting used to everything. I really do hope you've enjoyed it. It's a learning experience for us, and please do give us comments and recommendations of how we should improve this podcast, because we would love to hear them after today. We've been chatting on group chats and stuff of how we should make this podcast better for you, the audience. So if you do have some recommendations, please do let us know. Give us a like and follow us on YouTube and Spotify. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Rating on Spotify as well.
Ratings and Spotify as well would be brilliant. I'm sure Sterling will say the same. We thank you for watching. If you are watching right now, we do greatly appreciate that. And more to come soon on the National League South, which we are collecting information on as we speak. So that episode will be coming out very soon, as well as the National League South and League Two, which both information have been done in the recent days. So hopefully you look forward to that. This has been today's episode on the Isthmian Premier Division. I've been George. Simon is somewhere. We hope
having
to see
his dinner probably.
Yeah, we hope to see him next time.
I'm Sterling.
Yeah,
thank you guys. Sterling. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, everyone. It's been our first episode.